Well, we have one thing left to do on this Yom Yerushalayim as we celebrate the 59th anniversary of the reunification of Jerusalem, and that is the sounds of 1967, as outlined and narrated by the late, great Meir Weingarten. It's one of the legacies of Meir that was left to us after his sudden passing 5 years ago. His yahrzeit coming up on the 11th of Sivan. And this is a crescendo, a climax, an incredible way to wrap up a Yom Yerushalayim special. A big thank you to the Rothenberg Law Firm, InjuryLawyer.com, for sponsoring our special programming, including today's Yom Yerushalayim special. Meir Weingarten, with the sounds of 1967 on a Friday, Yom Yerushalayim at JM in the AM.
One of the things everyone looks forward to is the kolot, the voices, the sounds of 1967. You've explained to us many times why it is we do have sounds from that day, because of the unbelievable forethought of a correspondent, a young, very young correspondent for Galei Tzahal, is it? For Galei Tzahal. And now it's your opportunity to share this with the audience, because as one of our listeners says, every time they hear it, it's like they're hearing it for the very first time. And the way people react emotionally, I think it feels like they're hearing it for the very first time.
Including us.
Including us is right.
I will say. So we will begin with this. The reporter, Yossi Ronen, was with the troops. And it was, by the way, you said it was with forethought. Actually, he says that it was
instinct?
Luck. Well, hashgacha, as we'd say. Otherwise, we would never have these recordings. And he was recording. That means he wasn't broadcasting live, because there was no technology to do that, at least at that time, surely not in Israel during the war. So he was running with the troops, literally running, while they were shooting at them, while they were in danger, in harm's way.
Right.
And he also comes across Rav Goren, who is also running with the troops. Rav Goren is holding a Sefer Torah in his hands, right, in one hand, and the shofar in the other hand. And they are running, and you hear the shots in the background. They enter Shar Harayot, they get to Har Habayit Biadenu, and so forth. This reporter now knows that he has gold, Jerusalem of gold, in his hand, and he has to get it to the people in Galei Tzahal. So he runs around. I read this yesterday. He runs around looking for a telephone. In order to broadcast this back, he finds a place, and he transmits by holding the earpiece, the phone, the mouthpiece of the phone to his tape recorder. So the first part we're going to hear now is him telling the Galei Tzahal audience what it is that we're going to hear, and the excitement in his voice is enough to get you excited. This is Yossi Ronen.
זה יוסי רונן בירושלים. כרגע אני בקושי יכול לדבר משום שחזרנו בריצה מכיוון הכותל המערבי. נכנסנו בראש כיתה של צנחנים, ממש הכיתה הראשונה שנכנסנו. בראש צעדו האלוף עוזי נרקיס, האלוף בר-לב והרב הראשי לצה"ל, האלוף גורן, שנשא בידו ספר תורה ושופר. הם צעדו ממש כאילו מסביב לא יורים בכלל.
So this is one of the things that's amazing. He goes on to describe Rav Goren, and he says Rav Goren was like in another world. He was in an ecstatic state. Rav Goren said in an interview, also in another interview, he said, I felt Hashra'at Hashchina at that moment. And he says they're shooting, and Rav Goren is just walking like there's nothing, like nothing's going on.
הלכנו אחריהם שפופים לאורך הגדרות, לאורך הגאיות והסמטאות שבתוך העיר העתיקה. התקדמנו, הצנחנים שהיו איתנו מדי פעם בפעם ירו, משום שעדיין נמשכו הקרבות. התקדמנו תוך כדי הקרבות, והרב גורן הלך באמצע עם ספר התורה ועם השופר, כאילו היריות שמסביב בכלל לא נוגעות אליו. הוא בכלל לא היה שייך לעולם הזה, הוא נמצא כאילו בספירה אחרת בכלל. כולם, הייתם צריכים לראות איך חיילים הולכים ובכלל לא מרגישים שהולכים תוך כדי קרב. התקדמנו דרך סמטאות העיר העתיקה, כשאנחנו מתארים בית אחרי בית, אנחנו כמובן בעקבות הצנחנים שהתקדמו מבית לבית.
They're going house to house because there were orders by the government that they may not bomb. So they're going house to house to clear out any possible snipers and so forth. And he's describing how Rav Goren's in ecstasy. He says he's like in another world. Now in an interview that I heard with Rav Goren said, and the other officer was there also to verify this. Rav Goren says that the guy came over to him, one of the commanders came over to me and said, you got to go along the wall. They're shooting. You can't walk now in the middle of this street. Go on the side. Rav Goren says, who are you? I'm higher ranked than you. You can't tell me what to do. And he just keeps going. And the guy says, but you're endangering everybody else. He said, oh, if I'm endangering others, I can't do it. But he sort of like separated himself from the rest of the people and continued going. In the street, he was literally in some other world, as he says. Okay, so he continues, and now they reach no, this is
התקדמנו תוך כדי הקרבות, והרב גורן הלך
no, I'm sorry, that was the same one. Now they reached the Har
הגענו
HaBayit.
לחצר מסגד עומר. מסגד עומר זה מראה מקסים, מראה שלב. הכוחות הישראלים לא פגעו בה בכלל. בפנים שטיחים אדומים, עמודים גבוהים, שיש בכל צד. ממש מראה מקסים, שלווה, ממש שקשה לתאר אותה לעומת היריות והרעש שהתחוללו מסביב.
And now they arrive to the Kotel.
אחרי מסגד עומר המשכנו ללכת. כשאנחנו יורדים במדרגות לעבר הכותל המערבי. עמדנו ליד הכותל המערבי, הרב גורן תקע בשופר, קרא את פקודת היום המיוחדת שהוא הוציא לרגל הכיבוש של הכותל המערבי. מימינו ומשמאלו עמדו חיילים ובכו. אני לא יכול בכלל לתאר את הדבר הזה. חיילים צנחנים אמיצים שהחברים שלהם דקות ספורות נפצעו או נהרגו בכיבוש העיר העתיקה, עומדים נשענים על הכותל המערבי ובוכים. הם לא יכלו להוציא אגם מפיהם.
He can't fathom it. The toughest soldiers, the Tzanchanim, who a second ago were fighting and who lost comrades, now are leaning their head against the Kotel and crying. And the truth is, it is pretty awesome.
Unbelievable.
It's awesome when you think about it. Okay, he continues about now for another couple of seconds about what else Rav Goren did, and then we'll get to the kolot themselves.
אחרי שהרב גורן תקע בשופר וסיפר והוציא את פקודת היום המיוחדת, נערכה אזכרה מיוחדת לחללים שנפלו בכל המערכות על כיבוש העיר העתיקה, על כיבוש ירושלים ועל כל המערכות האחרות שמתחוללות כרגע בכל הארץ. לאחר שהוא עשה את האזכרה הזאת, נערכה תפילת המנחה הראשונה מזה 19 שנה על ידי הרב הראשי, הרב גורן, וכל החיילים איתו הצטרפו לתפילה. אחרי התפילה, באופן ספונטני ביותר, פרצה שירת התקווה, כשבראש הכותל המערבי מתנוסס דגל ישראל. אותו דגל שהודפס במלחמת השחרור בעיר העתיקה עצמה, כשהיא פונתה על ידי היהודים, ואחד הצנחנים זכר לקחת אותה כשאנחנו חדרנו לעיר העתיקה, והניף את הדגל בראש הכותל המערבי. אני מיהרתי לצאת, ואני רוצה להעביר את השידור עכשיו, את ההקלטה.
And now, that was all the introduction.
Right.
And now he says, and now here's the actual sound. So the first part we're going to hear is Motagur, the commander. He is on Har HaZeitim near Beit Orot,
right,
but they called him Mirpeset. And so this way he can see the entire battle area. And he says, he's now giving the instructions, the final instructions before they move into the old city. And he says, we're on the ridge, we're overlooking the old city, and soon we're going to go into it. He says, Kol Ador, all the generations before us have dreamt about it, and we will be the first to enter the old city. And then he goes on to talk about whose tank is going to go first and so forth, and they're going to enter the Lion's Gate. And he says that there's going to be the tekes at the end will be Barachava, which I believe he means the Har HaBayit, which is the only Rachava in the area.
מפקדי הגדודים, אנחנו יושבים על הרכב שצופה לעיר העתיקה, ועוד מעט אנחנו עומדים להיכנס אליה. העיר העתיקה של ירושלים, שמאז כל הדורות חותמים עליה ושואפים אליה. אנחנו נהיה הראשונים להיכנס אליה. הטנקים של איתן מתקדמים משמאל וייכנסו לשער האריות. לנוע אל השער. מסדר הסיום יהיה על הרחבה למעלה. עד כאן עבור.
I shudder to think what he was thinking as he was giving that command, Lanua, go. Okay, and so they lots of stuff happens. They now are about to enter the Lion's Gate. It is the first time in history of the city of Yerushalayim, which has a long history of being conquered by different forces, that it is entered from the east. rather than from any of the other sides. Mostly it was from the north. This is the first time it's entered from the east, from the Mizrach. And here are the kolot. There's a burnt out bus, which is giving off heat, which they talk about, and you'll hear him. This is the same Yossi Gonen describing as they enter, and they're still shooting.
הטנקים הישראלים עומדים בפתח העיר העתיקה, וקדימה לתוך שער האריות. ממש בראש הכוח הפורץ. יש עוד מישהו מדלת מאחור. אוטובוס ירדני לידי, שופע חום, שרף כולו, החום כאן עצום, ועוד מעט אנחנו עומדים להיכנס לתוך העיר. עומדים מתחת לשער האריות, שער מת לימפול, כנראה מההפגזות שהיו כאן. צנחנים מסתתרים ליד הכתלים. אני נצמד לאחד הכתלים. בוא. אנחנו הולכים ומעמיקים לתוך העיר העתיקה.
And as he described, Rav Goren is there. And he is shouting, he's holding his Sefer Torah, and he is shouting, screaming different words of encouragement, like he's supposed to be doing, to the troops, and he encourages them, say amen, say amen, say amen. I discovered this year 30 seconds that I don't think we ever heard.
Let's hear.
And it's Rav Goren screaming, and I beginning couldn't make it out. It turns out that he I believe it's Tehillim Lamed Hey. He was just reciting that Tehillim, which discusses battle, fighting against the enemies and so forth. So here is this clip. You hear the guy saying, Harav Yitzamud L'sham, meaning move over to the wall, stop. He keeps going.
אלוף גורן, אלוף הפיקוד.
אתה שאלת אותי אם נגיע לכותל. כן. אם כן, יש כבר דגל ישראל מתנוסס.
אולי 3 קריאות כיפה.
So, and you hear one of the commanders saying that you asked me, he's saying to Yossi Gonen, this whole clip is new. You asked me if we're going to make it to the Kotel today. He says, I'm telling you now that there's already an Israeli flag on Har HaBayit, which was a little earlier. It's Tehillim Lamed Hey, and it talks all about David praying to God that he should fight with his enemies, give battle to my foes. Yeriv lahem et lochmai, hachazek magen vitzina, take up shield and sword and come to my defense. So this was he probably knew all of Tehillim by heart anyway. So he knew which the right one was. And now they make their way through. They reach Har HaBayit. Motagur, who's seeing the whole scene, sees the Israeli soldiers, and the words that have become history are now uttered.
הר הבית בידינו, כאן תלמיד, הר הבית בידינו. פירות בישראל קיבלנו, כל הכבוד, כל הכבוד. חדל, כל הכוחות חדל.
And now he's now these are war instructions. First it was, this is Jewish history, and now let me just talk to the soldiers for a second.
תלמיד, כל הכוחות חדל, אני אומר שנית, כל הכוחות חדל, אבו.
One more time.
הר הבית בידינו, כאן תלמיד.
Unbelievable.
Har HaBayit v'yadeinu.
Har HaBayit v'yadeinu.
It'll take a while. But,
it will take a while.
But we are much closer today than we were 10 years ago, 20, surely 50. Well, yeah, even 50. We are much closer today than ever before. And it's coming from where it has to come from. It's coming from the people.
Right. That's true.
And as Rav Goren says, they looked for how to get to the Kotel. And this is obviously the part that is always hurts me, but it is what it is. That's what they remembered. They remembered the Kotel. They daven at the Kotel. They never thought about Har HaBayit in the past, and they wanted to go to this place that they knew before, that they had cried at before, that they davened at until 19 years before. So a lot of the people that were there, the older commanders, had been to the Kotel before, and they finally find it. By the way, there's a story, I don't know if it's apocryphal or not, that one of the soldiers says that they're looking to get from the inside of Har HaBayit to the Shar HaMugrabim to get out. And there's an old Arab man who has the key, and he comes and he gives them the key.
All right.
And he was very calm and very whatever, and he says, I was waiting for you. I knew you'd come back. Isn't that amazing? And now they're at the Kotel, and here's Rav Goren. That is the bracha that one makes when one sees Yerushalayim reestablished and rebuilt. Menachem Tzion v'nei Yerushalayim. We say it also in Tfilat Nachem in Tisha B'Av. And then Rav Goren, one of the most moving moments, makes an azkara, Kel Malei Rachamim, for the soldiers who just died, who were killed
in battle,
who never got to see this. Yeah. They never got to see this moment. They didn't know where the Jewish people were going to end up at the end of that day. And here is the azkara where he mentions the soldiers that gave their lives for the liberation of Yerushalayim, the Kotel, and Har HaBayit.
עת נערוך אזכרה לזכר חללי צה"ל שנפלו במערכה הזאת נגד כל אויבי ישראל. אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים. אמצענו מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים גיבורים וטהורים. כי זוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים לנשמות חיילי צבא ההגנה לישראל שנפלו במערכה הזאת נגד אויבי ישראל ושנפלו על קדושת השם העם בארץ בשחרור בית המקדש, הר הבית, הכותל המערבי וירושלים עיר האלוהים. בגן עדן תהיה מנוחתם. לכן בעל הרחמים יזכירן בסתר כנפיו לעולמים.
Those are the soldiers crying.
ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתם. אדוני הוא נפלתם. וינוחו בשלום משכבם. ויעמדו לגורלם לקץ הימים ונאמר אמן. לשנה הזאת בירושלים הבנויה, בירושלים העתיקה.
I'm very proud of this Yom Yerushalayim special. Great reaction. What a legacy that Meir Weingarten has left us. What a great segment. Chag sameach, moadim l'simcha ligula shlema. Yom Yerushalayim Special brought to you by the Rothenberg Law Firm, injurylawyer.com. Big thank you to the Rothenberg family.